All right, guys, I just want to welcome back to the Gridiron Gurus podcast. Today, me and Nick are going to be taking a look at the Buffalo Bills, a final 7 round mock draft here for them. And, some people probably aren't going to like this mock draft. I will go ahead and give that disclaimer. It's just this team is in peril right now. When you look at this roster, GM Brandon Beane used Sean McDermott as a scapegoat for underperforming. When, quite frankly, he's put this roster in a bad position, Nick. I mean, a lot of bad contracts on offense, specifically at pass catcher, has led to them not having a whole lot of talent. The defensive line has underperformed. The linebacking group with veterans did not look great last year. The secondary lacks talent. This is just a team that does not have a good roster like it did many years ago. Josh Allen, King Allen has really carried them, Nick, to all the wins that they have. This roster is in poor shape. The GM is specifically to blame for this, and he's been nothing but praised by the owner. So this is a team that's kind of in disarray at this moment. And they don't have a whole lot of draft capital either, so they're going to have to kind of start from scratch here, and that's why I have them taking two defensive backs in the two top 100 picks that they have. And again, they don't have a whole lot of draft capital, but I think that corner and safety is a big concern for this team, and that's where they should start. And I'll get to the scouting profiles on these guys momentarily. But what do you make of the commentary I offered here to start the episode?
Yeah, I think it's certainly concerning at times in upstate New York. You have that brand new stadium coming, taxpayer funded, gorgeous stadium, but the team is not going to be great. And I think it was a complete mistake to fire McDermott. I really think, like you said, a scapegoat because the GM is buddy buddies with the owner. And you've seen that in hockey recently, New York Rangers, if I want to pull a comparison. The GM is great pals with the owner, and the owner won't fire the GM, but that team's in complete disarray. The Rangers are a complete dumpster fire right now, and they keep just cycling through coaches, and they are in a position where they were a team that was one of the top teams in the NHL. They were competing for Stanley Cups, and they were in a great spot, just like how the Bills were in top teams in the NFL, competing for Super Bowls. And now I think the Bills have some dark days ahead of them. I think they'll still be in the playoffs, obviously, the next 2 or 3 seasons, but things can get really rough in upstate New York very quickly because I just don't think this team is being managed quite well. And they don't have a ton of picks here either. They only have 2 picks in the top 100, and they have a couple picks in the 5th and 6th round. But this is just really not great when you're a team that has a lot of holes to fill, in my opinion, and a lot of things they got to do to rework and reshuffle things around. Only having 2 picks in the top 100 is certainly not ideal, and I think it's concerning. They have glaring holes, glaring needs they need to address. I'm just not confident they have done so far. They have enough to obviously win, enough football games to get them in the playoffs, I think, again this year. But I think there'll be a lot of early playoff exit for the Bills, which is not too dissimilar from what they've done in the past. So I think they'll continue to make the playoffs, lose games. And again, this is a team that needs a lot of help. Having only 2 picks in top 100 is not great, in my opinion, and I'm certainly concerned for the future of this team's franchise.
Avion Terrell, though, a guy that's going to fill a need at corner. Now, I think Maxwell Harrison is a guy that they took last year early on that's still going to be very good. Christian Benefort was phenomenal against the run, but it's definitely not great in coverage. So maybe cornerback's not the best idea in round one. But again, I just think they need talent in the secondary across the board. So he's going to come in and he's going to be a guy that can give you great play in zone coverage. He's a competitive guy, nice hip fluidity, breaks on the ball quickly and attacks the catch point. He does struggle against press though with some soft technique, so definitely needs to show more consistency when it comes to his physicality. More urgency against the run, showing more of a quick trigger would be helpful as well. Zaki Wheatley in a weak safety class. I really don't know if he's going to fall to 91 overall. He did in this mock draft, but in reality, I think you're going to see him potentially get overdrafted. If he's sitting there, though, they need to take him. He's always around the football, has great instincts. He flies downhill versus the run, has nice single high coverage capabilities. Pretty good natural athlete as well. The tackling technique, his aggression to trigger downhill is something I really like, but the tackling technique does need to improve so he can be more consistent in that regard. And he can struggle versus bigger, more physical tight ends in man coverage. These are good football players, Nick. Again, I don't know if this is the best game plan for them. Maybe something else around will make a lot of sense for them. But I've just seen the secondary over the last couple of years. It's not impressive to me, and I think they need to boost up the talent.
They certainly need to work on the secondary. I think Harrison's been a really solid player, and that was a pretty good first round pick last year. But I think they need to continue to address this position. I think Terrell is a really solid player. I think he's more, best fit in zone. I think you're gonna have to play him in zone more often than not. I don't know if he can really work that well in man coverage or other sort of setups here. He had 650 snaps last year, ended up with only giving up 3 touchdowns on 51 targets, didn't have any interceptions, but he was pretty solid at times, a decent tackler. He was pretty good at corner on occasion. I think he's got some solid size, ranked as 23 on most people's boards, 23, 24, 25 range, 5'11", 180, high football IQ, certainly good playmaking instincts. I think he can certainly grow as a more ball hawking defensive back as well and be better as time progresses. This is a team I think just needs to add depth to that position. I think there's a lot of question marks about what some of those other guys can do. I think Benford has some question marks on the other side. I think Cole Bishop has some question marks at safety. Dorian Strong, I don't know if I necessarily trust him. And Daryl Porter, I don't know if I trust him either further down the depth charts. I think they got to fill this position. Zakee Wheatley would be a great add if they can get him at 91. He is a really solid asset. He had 658 snaps last year. For Penn State was really solid for them. He had 59 total tackles. 11 missed tackles is certainly an issue. You want to cut down on that. So that's going to be something they're going to have to work on immediately to kind of coach him. He played deep. He played in the box as well. So they moved him around. They got a lot of versatility out of him. I think Wheatley's one of the more versatile players in the defensive back list and safety list in this draft. I think he's a very versatile player that played high-level football at Penn State and would be a great add for this Bills secondary that could use a little bit of beef here.
Now I move to the next slide here. Some of the picks that they have on day three, which is a good chunk, right? But they definitely wish they had some earlier in this cycle. Linebacker again last year is a concern for them. Matt Milano wasn't great. Neither was Terrell Bernard. Guys who've been around a long time just did not cut it for this team. Look to add some depth at least. A guy that could potentially be a starter and Bryce Bocher from Oregon. Good athlete. Really showcases nice change of direction ability, solid instincts versus the run. Has pretty good ball tracking skills and coverage as well. He's on the older side at 24. Smaller side as well, 6'1", 233. The strength needs help. It's below average in that regard. He could definitely benefit by showcasing more pop behind his pads in the run game. But I think that's a position they're going to look to address. David Edwards, he's gone. One of their top tier players on the interior. They, of course, don't have a lot of cap room either. Well, at the same time, not having a whole lot of talent. So it just shows you where the GM put this roster. DJ Campbell, though, can hopefully come in and be a starter. 6'3", 322. Great power and anchor. Nice firm base and lower body strength. Scheme versatile in the run game as well. I think he has good IQ and overall experience, lateral range, and just overall just leaning on strength instead of fundamentals and technique is something that he needs to work on. Going to the defensive line, Nick, Albert Regis. This is a guy who's got impressive explosiveness, wins the leverage battle with his low center of gravity. He has a knack for getting past deflections as well as a bigger nosed defensive tackle, has a really good motor, lacks length, powerful bull rush, but he can lack many other pass rushing moves. So he definitely needs to get coached up a little bit. These are three respectable additions, though, that I think could help in all regards for this roster. What do you make of it?
I like Boucher there. I think he's a really solid pick at 126. He was good at Oregon last year, played at 775 snaps to his team, evenly split between run defense and coverage snaps, had 94 total tackles, missed 14 tackles, but I think he was still a really solid player. Played a lot in the box. Majority of those snaps are in the box. Played a little bit slot as well. He's a very versatile player. I think he's a guy at linebacker that you know you're going to get good fundamentals, high energy, really speedy athlete, 6'2", 230, so that the frame's a little bit interesting there, but I think he can be solid. You certainly can attack and get after the quarterback potentially and mold into a role where that's possible for him. DJ Campbell was solid at right guard last year for Texas, played 800 plus snaps at that position, a good balance between run block and pass block. Certainly excelled at pass block, in my opinion, a little bit shaky at run block at time. But I think DJ Campbell is a really strong physical guard who could be really good on that right side, 6'3", 321, potentially play center if necessary as well. He's a guy that only get one sack last year and 6 hits on the 800 plus snaps. Pretty good numbers if you ask me. I think DJ Campbell is a really solid asset on the offensive line, and then a good asset on the defensive line is Albert Regis, which is probably my favorite pick of the bunch here. I think Regis could be really good for this team in the future. 470 snaps last year on the defensive line, was really good in pass rush snaps, was solid in run defense as well. 12 QB hurries and a sack last year. Pretty solid, batted down 2 balls as well. He's played a lot in the B gap, about 400 snaps in that area, played about 75 snaps in the A gap as well. But he was really solid. He was a big physical run defender that was good at clogging the run and was solid at getting after the quarterback as well. High floor, certainly has good consistency, good hands, and doesn't have that really explosiveness necessarily, but I think he is a reliable option at 6'1", 320. I think he's a pretty good size as well. I like this pick a lot. It's probably my favorite one of the one we've talked about so far. I think Regis could be really fitting in well in this team, and getting him at 168 on the board, not a bad pick, not bad value in my opinion.
Capping things off of our final two selections, round 6 and 7, Ona Heideke, a linebacker, I think, is going to be really good. He's going to be a steal at the end of the day, undersized player, but has a high motor, can be a special teams asset, and he's great at getting his way through traffic, and I think he can really shine versus the run, a guy who's going to go out there and give you some really good reps. And then Donovan Green at wide receiver. Had great testing numbers, has speed, matched with good ball tracking skills, tough hands in traffic. I was a fan of his at Virginia Tech at times. And that kind of caps off this mock draft. Nothing too flashy, right? But you can't get desperate especially in this league, you have to be complacent with what you have, and you have to still trust your scouting and trust that the team needs you have can be filled even in these later rounds, Nick. So people probably won't be happy with this. I don't know what else you're really supposed to do other than attack other needs, right? So I think this is solid for the Bills. Nothing crazy. We'll see if it's better than what they've had the last couple of years, but this team needs to start hitting on some of these picks.
Bills are certainly in a tough spot here. I think Heineke's not bad. Played 470 snaps last year. Was pretty solid in coverage. Played about 385 of those snaps in the box. Had some good movement as well. He had 40 total tackles. Did miss 16, but I think he was pretty solid. In coverage, I think he's a player that's a little bit undersized, but he's got some solid speed, good athleticism, and certainly could be involved as a special teamer, which could be really good for this team. Donovan Green, I like the speed on him. He's very fast wide receiver. Certainly a guy that can really mark down the field. 6'2", about 200 pounds as well. He can certainly fight for a catch or two. Only had 16 grabs last year on 31 targets. Limited production at Virginia Tech, but I think he's a player that could be solid. Can certainly carve out a role in this team. And taking him at 220, not bad. The Bills are in a tough spot. I mean, there's no way to sugarcoat it here, right? This is simply where they are. They're in a very tough spot right now, and they don't have a ton of picks in this draft. This is not a great time to be a Bills fan, in my opinion. I think they're going through a major transition, and they have some issues they have to take care of. I like what we've done here, right? We've added some depth on the defensive side of the ball. We added a piece or two on the offense that could help. They're in a tough spot. There's no way to really, skip around and kind of miss that point. We'll see what the Bills do. There's a team I'm keeping an eye on closely. I'm curious to see maybe if they try to trade out of the first round to get some more assets. That may be a possibility. We'll see what they end up doing. They're a very intriguing team, and I'm very curious to see what they do over the next couple of days once the draft starts Thursday night.
That's going to be for this episode. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. See you next time.